Good evening and welcome to Mello TV. I'm your host, Nicole HAYLES. Thank you for joining us for this evening's discussion as we continue to look at the findings of a Mello TV poll conducted by POLLSTER and CEO of Johnson Survey Research Limited, Bill Johnson, and break down the numbers. This evening we will look at which of the two parties the Jamaican people say would do a better job of governing. Also joining us are political commentator Linton and political analyst Paul Bourne. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Bill, let's start with you. What are the numbers showing regarding which party would do a better job of governing?
Okay, we asked people which party they think would do a better job of governing. By a 3-to-1 margin, people think the JLP would do a better job than the PNP. 55% say the JLP, 18% the PNP, 24% were undecided, and 3% refused. Now, these numbers are better for the PNP in a sense, because when we asked which of the party leaders would do a better job of governing, in that instance, Andrew Holness was 70% and Peter Phillips was 12%. So that was a 6-to-1 majority in favor of the JLP, so to speak. This has dropped down to a 3-to-1 majority. Obviously, it's still a very, very strong majority for the JLP. Once again, if we look behind the numbers, we can see that 90% of those who voted for the JLP have selected the JLP. However, more than a quarter of those, 27% of those who voted for the PNP in 2016 feel the JLP would do a better job of governing. 50% say the PNP, 22% were undecided. And for those who didn't vote in 2016, 52% said the JLP would do a better job, 11% said the PNP would do a better job, and 32% were undecided. So obviously, the fact that only 50%, only one half of those who voted for the PNP in 2016 feel that it would do a better job than the JLP at this point is certainly not a very positive sign for the PNP at this point.
Linton and Paul, 55% for the JLP overall and 18% for the PNP. How should the JLP use its numbers to evaluate their performance in governing the country? And what can the PNP do to reshape how persons should view their governance capability? Linton, let's start with you.
I think the figures are confirming the views that other aspects of the poll have shown, that there is generally widespread support for the Jamaica Labour Party and an acceptance that it is doing a good job. It also is sending a message to the PNP in two ways, to say that their base is migrating from them. More and more, in other words, over a quarter, 27% of persons who voted for the PNP in 2016 no longer believe that they can do a good job. They have now mentally migrated to the JLP, seeing the JLP as being able to do a better job. The PNP has only been attracting 50% of those who voted for them in 2016 amongst the persons who see the party doing a better job. Again, this is a serious decline facing the People's National Party, and they will have to do inward inspection to determine what has caused this collapse of their support over a short period of 4 years.
Paul, what should the parties make of the numbers?
Well, the JLP should be encouraged and pleased with those numbers, but it means something for the PNP, and I think that the leadership issue in the People's National Party must be addressed. It has to be that people have constructed or seen the leader as an issue, and that leadership thing, which is still ongoing, is creating a problem for the People's National Party. But I want to look at those who did not vote in the last election. 52% of those persons so that the JLP is doing a good job of leading Jamaica. And when you look at that figure, and I'm always speaking about that group of persons because they are the swing voters, it means that they are now seeing the JLP as not only doing a better job, but as possibly governing Jamaica in a better way, and that possibly could pull a number of these persons out of that section of not wanting to vote. Now, the People's National Party must look carefully at those numbers. And although they may argue as to whether they should actually take these numbers seriously or not, they are views of Jamaican that were scientifically garnered and therefore is of value and must be taken into consideration by them.
We went on the streets earlier today and got the views of the people, and this is what they had to say.
I believe that they tend to get the consensus of the people prior to making a decision, which this government does not. They tend to do things unilaterally. They did a very good job when the JLP messed up the IMF program. And it took us a long time to get recognition of the IMF. But nevertheless, we were able to. And the progress that the country has made started with the PNP. The reduction of the national debt, building up of the net international reserve, and a number of macroeconomic variables were actually improved during the PNP, and the JLP just continued.
I believe that the country run more better when Mr. Philip them have it in the power. Everything more governed, everything in the order.
Andrew is doing a better job based upon economics and on the COVID. He's doing a better job. He's doing a job. Get a lot of roads, a lot of improvements, development in the country. And young people is doing a lot of job, things for the young people them.
Well, right now, from me can remember, like, from a smaller girl come up, the two of them are back to the same way I come till now. And the two of them, if they not change the crab in a barrel attitude towards running the country, none of them not really make a big difference. First thing they have to try to get rid of crime and violence, they have to cut down that. And take out the politics out of running the country and run the country as Jamaicans and say treat the people them as Jamaican and not treat them like them a PNP and JLP.
Let's look at the percentage of persons that did not vote in 2016. Over 50% are saying that the JLP would do a better job, while only 11% say the PNP. Paul, let's start with you.
Well, that is the issue I'm actually discussing, because there's indication that the undecided voters, who are normally the skeptic, are clearly looking at what is going on in the economy and assessing what is happening in the economy in terms of whether the JLP is doing an excellent job compared to that of the People's National Party. And although the People's National Party is not in power and is not governing Jamaica, people are juxtaposing what they would have done under Peter Phillips with that of Andrew Holness. And it is a clear indication here that a number of people have lost confidence in not so much the People's National Party, but more so the leader, Dr. Peter Phillips.
Linton, your thoughts?
The 52% who did not vote, it's not likely that any significant number of them will vote in the next election. We have a problem with persons not voting in Jamaica. The last election, a little under 50% of the electorate went out and vote. I don't know to what extent the 52% will go out and vote. So I don't know if the PNP can hunt in that group for support. I think they have to go back to base and to convince their supporters to return to supporting them, and then look at the undecided persons who might be prepared to vote but are undecided as to who they will support. Those are the ones they will have to go up, because at the end of the day, it is about half the electorate that the two parties, or whatever other party should come along, will have to canvass and seek to get support from.
Still on the undecided numbers, what should the JLP and the PNP be doing? What should their focus be on to get those persons out in the next upcoming general election? Let's start with back with you, Linton.
The JLP has to continue along the path they are going. Continue with the programs, continue to win hearts and minds throughout the country, and continue to have a message, a hope, an expectation that they put in the minds of persons so persons can say, I have an expectation from this party and I'm looking forward to achieving it. The PNP, for their part, they are going to have to find a program. They are going to have to find a message. And until they can find that and sell it to the voters, they will continue to lag behind.
Paul?
Well, historically, most political parties around the world have not really sort of centered their focus on the undecided. And a part of the reason that Linton has sort of spoke to that a while ago, many of them just will not vote. However, given the nature of what persons are saying in that undecided group, in so many of them are saying the JLP is favorable. It means to me that what the JLP should try to do is to convince these persons, not from only favoring it in terms of their governance, but have them come and vote. The PNP, on the other hand, is having a serious challenge because the people are not seeing them as favorable. What do you do when you're not seen as favorable as the opposition? And that is going to be a challenge for the PNP. And as a result, what the PNP ought to do is to do an introspection. And that introspection must include its leader, its machinery, and all of that, and take into consideration what the people are saying about them from these polls, and use that as a basis on which they are going to actually start reorganizing itself to be an attractive party and energize its base that it has before.
Let's look at the JLP and PNP voters in 2016. What are your thoughts on those percentages? And what does it say regarding the confidence of the 2016 voters in each party on being able to do a better job at governance? Linton, let's start with you.
The JLP supporters are the persons who voted for the JLP in 2016, are giving their party almost 100% support. They are in charge. Their party is governing, they are supporting them, and they are satisfied and they are happy with the way the party is governing the country. It's the PNP that should be extremely concerned because of the persons who voted for the PNP. 27% of those persons are saying that they believe the JLP is now doing a better job. So if we take that to a logical conclusion, the 27% might vote for the JLP, or a significant number of them. The PNP has 50% of their supporters from 2016 seeing them as capable of doing a better job than the JLP. They need to have a program, a message, a concept that someone can relate to and say, I'm buying in this, I'm going with them because I believe this is taking us somewhere.
Paul?
No, when 50% of those persons who voted for you the last time so that it's favorable for you to be in the governance position, that's a clear indication that too many of your base or too many of those persons who voted the last time do not find you attractive. That not necessarily that they don't want to vote for you, but do not find you attractive in terms of governance. And as I said before, and I will continue to say, it must be speaking something about the leader. The leader clearly here to Jamaicans is not seen as a suitable person to govern the country. And that clearly has to be an induction that must be taken from these figures. Because when a party like the JLP, almost all of your persons are saying you are doing an excellent job. And on the other side of the coin, half of your supporters are saying you would do a good job. That's a clear indication that people are confident in an opposition that should come to rule if it so does come to win. Now, that in of itself speaks volume. And the PNP must go back to the drawing board, re-examine their position, and decide what is going to be their message. Its message cannot be about corruption, because corruption, as we said, is a dead horse. Something must be taken into consideration, new by the People's National Party, that will take them in the driver's seat in terms of their attractiveness to the people of Jamaica. Otherwise, they will be in opposition for a longer time.
Bill, what can we expect come tomorrow?
Fireworks. It's been over 4 months since a credible national poll has been released in terms of how people would vote in this country in the forthcoming election. And I think most of the country is anxious to see just what our results are going to show tomorrow night. We've been building up to this for the last 2 weeks, and tomorrow night is the crescendo, and it should be a great night for Jamaica tomorrow night.
Indeed, tomorrow will be a great night for Jamaica. Also, come Thursday, Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, will also be joining us to discuss additional findings on the COVID-19 pandemic in Jamaica from a Mello TV poll. That's also a discussion you won't want to miss. Thank you for joining us as we analyze in our Mello TV poll conducted by pollster Bill Johnson. We also want to thank this evening political commentator Linton Gordon and political analyst Paul Bourne. I'm Nicole Hales. Thanks for watching.